Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. But if you're new here, my name's Tyler and I just do consistent content on all things related hockey in the NHL overall. And this is a trade we knew was happening almost 2 days ago now, with Ryan Donato being connected to the San Jose Sharks, originally thinking he would be in the same deal with Devan Dubnyk going the other way, but that isn't the case, which I do find kind of bizarre. So if you do find out other information as to why that happened, please let me know in the comments below. But nonetheless, Ryan Donato, the young 24-year-old forward who I've been a solid fan of since he first burst on the scene in the NHL a couple years ago, is being shipped off to the San Jose Sharks in return for a third-round pick in 2021, which is the Pittsburgh Penguins' original third-round pick, in which they traded for Patty Marleau at the trade deadline this past season. So a very interesting deal. Like I said, I'm not sure why they're separate, but I like Donato a lot, and I want to make that clear. I really have been impressed with him at times. He's shown flashes of brilliance at times, so I'm excited to see him have a new change of scenery in San Jose. But getting on to him more, he was originally drafted, of course, in the second round back in the 2014 draft by the Boston Bruins. He was dealt just not even a full year ago, season-wise, with Charlie Coyle going the other way to Boston. Donato being one of the pieces in that deal, of course. And when he first came onto the scene with the Minnesota Wild, I thought, oh, this would be a nice acquisition for him. I thought Coyle, of course, is the better player between the two, but nonetheless, I expected Donato to have a good idea, having more playing time being in Minnesota, and that really hasn't been the case for him, unfortunately. If you look what's happened since just around 20 months ago when he first started his season with Minnesota, that he started off real hot and then everything went dwindling down for him. The consistency hasn't been there. He is not well rounded on his overall game yet. It's something he's continuing to do as a young 24-year-old in the NHL. This was really his first year as being an NHL mainstay. Besides the year prior with his last year in Boston, he played just under 20 games with the Providence Bruins. So it just goes to show that he hasn't been an NHL mainstay yet until this past season. And even then, he was struggling to find some ice time being in that lineup. He was bouncing around those lines on that roster for sure, and really just didn't look like a great fit for Minnesota sooner rather than later. Now, we can blame Donato's play, and we can also blame management for addressing him the way they did. I think it goes both ways here for Donato, and I think he's going to benefit greatly to going to a team like San Jose, where they are depleted in a lot of aspects of that lineup, especially on the offensive front. Yes, they have been dealing with injuries, so having some guys healthy back will be huge for them, but when it comes to their bottom six, especially in that offense, they could use a guy like Donato to start out on that third line possibly and work himself up, get some time on special teams, on the power play. I think the opportunities are really going to present itself there for Donato. If you look at his stats over this past season, in 62 games played, he had 14 goals and 9 assists for 23 total points. Nothing stellar, but taking into account his role with the Minnesota Wild, like I said, he really was everywhere in that lineup. He did have a stint with them in the qualifying round as well, and Donato really first burst on the scene back in 2014-2015, really coming out of nowhere, playing 3 games for Boston due to injuries in the playoffs, and he had a goal in his short playoff stint. But then in 2017-2018, coming out of, I believe he was with Harvard at the time, unless he finished up by then, because he did play for Harvard in college, he did have a stint with the Boston Bruins that season, which he had 9 points in just 12 games. So it was a very nice little ride he had towards the end of the season that year in 2017-2018, and then he had a cup of coffee in the playoffs again with an additional 3 games in the playoffs, to which he had no points. But nonetheless, Donato is a guy who I really like. I like his game. I think there's still plenty of potential there for him as a young forward in the NHL. He can play both the center and the wing position. Whether he is better at one position or the other will be subject to change, seeing how he does in San Jose and where they want to utilize him most. But I'm very excited to see what the future holds for him in San Jose. I think he'll have a better opportunity there. And Minnesota, when you look at them, they currently have cap space of 11.25 mil, now getting rid of that contract in which he had 1 year left at 1.9 mil. So they're around 13.15 mil in cap space, and that's before the Devan Dubnyk trade. So I want to make that clear. That will be subject to change as well, probably within the coming hours after coming out with this video. But Minnesota, they're trying to change up this lineup. They are trying to compete next season. We know this. They are in this kind of retool stage versus full-on rebuild, as we know. I expect a lot of things to happen with them going forward, and I've touched on that in previous videos as well, so make sure to check them out if you're interested. But I would love to hear your thoughts, guys. Who do you think won this trade? I think it's an easy win for San Jose. They give up virtually nothing for Donato, who's a young, controllable forward who will come in that lineup right away. Hopefully he has a strong camp for them next season, whenever that happens at this point. And I really think he's going to make an impact that he didn't have with Minnesota, or at least to the degree. But everything is subject to change. He will be with some, say, better forwards in San Jose too, depending on who he's playing with, of course. If he does crack that top 6 at any point in time, which seems like a stretch at this point, but it's still something to consider. So I would love to hear your thoughts, guys. San Jose Sharks fans, Minnesota Wild fans, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you like this trade? Do you not like this trade? What do you think is going to happen for this NHL offseason going forward? A lot of things are going to happen this offseason between the draft, as I mentioned, and free agency. A lot of trades are going to happen. Dubnyk is surely on his way out to San Jose, which is a very interesting deal nonetheless for Minnesota. And when it comes to Minnesota, they are a team that if they do make this deal, they are trying to address goaltending still. I don't think they trust in Kaapo Kähkönen yet, and they're going to stick with Dell more than likely. So who's going to come in? That's a very interesting question. If there's one goalie that just stands out to me, not saying it's going to happen, but if there's one guy that really stands out to me who could possibly land in Minnesota as somewhat of a surprise, it's my guy, Henrik Lundqvist. Hank, as we all know, just being bought out by the New York Rangers, and he wants to compete still. I don't think he would go into Minnesota, considering he still wants to compete and try to win a cup, but if the opportunity were to present himself where he would be very interested in playing along the likes of his best friend and Matt Zuccarello, who I absolutely love, Zook, to kind of finish off his career, that is something to consider. I'm not saying it's going to happen. That's just a thought. If there's one team in my mind that isn't necessarily a full-on playoff contending team that could land the likes of Lundqvist, the Wild stand out for me for sure. But we'll see what the Wild do when it comes to goaltending. They have so many options, more than I can even begin to comprehend and list down for you right now. But let me know your thoughts. As always, guys, check out previous videos and hit that like and subscribe on if you enjoyed this kind of hockey content. I would love to hear all your thoughts. As always, I'll have a Devan Dubnyk trade video up as soon as that is official. And thank you all so much for watching, guys. It means a lot. I can't thank you enough for the support on the channel. Make sure to tune in for my live stream tomorrow, and expect a couple more videos at least today and a bunch tomorrow, along with the NHL live stream for the 2020 draft. It's going to be so much fun, and I hope to see you guys there. But thank you all so much, guys. Hit like and subscribe if you like this kind of hockey content. Let me know all your thoughts down below, and I'll be back very, very soon.